So good morning. My name is Nicole Helwig. I am the manager of the Center for Social Enterprise at Memorial. I'm really glad to have this opportunity to share a little bit of our work through this community conversation. I think we're okay back there. And as it's a community conversation, I'm not planning to speak for too long, to go through a conversation and leave some room for question and answer. And well, I think we also are going to have a little person with us. So, but as I'm told, the Cree in the Cree, which is an Indigenous group in Canada, say if there's a child in your discussion, then you're doing something right. So I'll work with that. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and share a presentation. Here we go. So just a little bit about us at the center. We've been around for a few years, and our unique starting point is actually an interdisciplinary collaboration. So our center is located in our Faculty of Business Administration, but it is a collaboration between our Faculty of Business as well as our School of Social Work and our School of Music. And that's really given us a very interesting message to send out to the world, because it shows that one of the things we want to do is work across disciplines, break down silos, and also that we're different. We're not a center for social entrepreneurship at a business school. We're looking at social change from a different perspective, and how we can do that in a way that recognizes that no one discipline can manage that on its own. So in this slide, you see that we work also a lot with community. We've been very outward focused with community engagement, though we're now starting to work more within the academy with a curricular association with a curricular program. But I'm focusing on one of our community engagement initiatives where we place students in social enterprise. We consider it part of social enterprise discovery for the students. And it's also one of our ways to work with community partners where we are, which is, I should mention, Memorial University is in Newfoundland, or Newfoundland and Labrador, which is a province, the most easterly province in Canada. Okay, so our program, we've been calling it Work Experience in Social Enterprise. It has a number of objectives or focuses. So it's about experiential learning. We provide wage subsidies to enable students who don't have co-op education programs or don't have other placements through their curricular programs to have experience in these organizations. And we also provide the wage subsidies because we notice that some students from different faculties, even when they do have some sort of internship or practicum, aren't paid. So we have all of our students placed with the same opportunity to earn money on the job, but also at the same rate. It is considered part of career development. It gives students a chance to explore and grow. In primarily the nonprofit sector. We consider it also part of the movement of apprenticing with a program, apprenticing with a problem, even if it's only a first exposure for some of the students who may be interested in a particular social cause, for them to get some exposure and some experience, more real life, real contact with what they're interested in. And it's also, of course, added capacity for our community partners. We work very closely with them. We co-create the learning experiences for our students in a way that creates a worthwhile learning experience, but also has the students have a meaningful opportunity to contribute to the community partners. So, and the last point, of course, is the cross-disciplinary context. So what I'm going to do this morning is share a few examples, of what we've been doing over the past few years. some of the examples of what we've done and how we've done it. And then I open the floor to see your feedback, see if you've been doing something similar, and maybe we can do some share. So just for anyone else who's joining the call now, welcome. I'm glad to have you in part of this community conversation, and we'll share those examples that I was talking about. Okay. So we won't maybe not be able to see the logo here. The two students here were placed with an organization called Stella Circle. They are an agency that works with individuals on the margins who are retransitioning into society, coming out of the criminal justice system, dealing with multiple issues, whether it's drug addictions, mental health addictions, and they provide a lot of supports, including supported work employment opportunities through social enterprise. So in the picture you see Sydney on the left, who is an undergraduate social work student, and Peter on the right, who is an undergraduate business student. They were placed in our pilot of this initiative, working together on a micro-social enterprise called Rags to Riches, repurposing textiles. It was a successful pilot, obviously, because we've continued with this program. But it was interesting for us to see how the students worked together and how we gave them a lot of room to be independent, and they on their own decided to see what it might be like to swap roles. So Sydney, as a social work student, was making cold calls to suppliers, while Peter, as a business student, was interacting with the clients in a particular program at Stella Circle, and having to stretch his social skills in a different way than he'd ever done in a business context. I remember the students at the end presented to the community partner and to some of us from the university on their experience. And Peter was asked, how does this change your view as a business student? He said, there's no turning back now. Now this, going from to our very first pilot of this initiative to one of our most recent, the picture you see here is a group of folks from Smart Ice, which is a social enterprise that is working, it's based in St. John's, Newfoundland, where I am, its headquarters, but it is working in Labrador in the north. Their focus is on climate adaptation, where people in the north travel on skidoos on the shore-fast ice or land-fast ice, so the land closest, the ice that's attached to the land. People have been going through the ice. So they developed a technology with geographers at the university to measure the thickness of the sea ice and help monitor where it's safe to travel. And they worked very closely with community. They're an organization that has had contact through their founder for more than 16 years, developing the trust in the community. And their social enterprise aspect is to, rather than source the technology and the manufacturing for the technology on the mainland, so the mainland of Canada, or elsewhere for that matter, they've decided that their production facility will be in the north. So this picture shows a business student, Shauna, with her eyeglasses on, and another social work student, Todd, on the left, who were working together in Nain, a remote community, over last summer. And Todd came in as a rather unusual member of a business development team, because initially they had never considered that why would we have a business student, a social work student there developing our business. But of course they realized the capacities that he could bring working with youth and training in the community. And he's developed, by working with them, their particular training and operations for their new production facility. But this was, for us, has been a bit of a dream, because there were numerous barriers to making any interdisciplinary placement or even solo placement happen in Labrador, given the remoteness, the geography, the cultural context, and even the distance for us, where the university has a footprint in Labrador, we have a Labrador Institute, we don't have the same connections and relationships. So we weren't able to make a move until we worked with Smart Ice and found them to be, a perfect fit as a partner. And they have also taken on students in engineering, political science, I think computer science as well. They've just also seen the value that our students have been able to bring as members of the team and helping their social enterprise grow and expand. Now, the last one I want to share here is a placement of 3 students. We had a business student, social work student, and also a music student placed with an initiative again at Stella Circle, where they have developed a choir for persons who are experiencing homelessness or have experienced homelessness, as well as their friends. And the inclusion choir is very much one of their community building activities, and it was wonderful to be able to involve our students in what was a particular project. They worked with a local singer-songwriter, award-winning Juno musician. So Juno Awards are Canadian music awards. And they, through participatory initiative, they composed a song together and performed it, had a special concert around that. And our students all had different roles depending on their discipline, working towards that concert, but they also worked together as a team. And on top of that, they also became members of the choir and sang in the choir. Now I'll share a little video about that, but I just wanted to say make a few comments also about how we've been sort of evaluating these initiatives, partly because they have been quite different one from the other. And at the same time, we're a co-curricular program, so it's more difficult for us in some ways to follow up with our students. So we've always tried to build in some form of reflection with our students, capture stories. So we have, for example, some reflections from 2 of the students in this particular placement. We also had presentations that the students give to the community partner, often as part of a deliverable, but also as part of their reflection on the experience. And generally speaking, they've included us as well to be able to share what the experience over the course of a semester has meant for them. So we've been able to capture certain things in words, but we were very fortunate with this particular placement that a documentary film was being made at the same time for the community partner. And I asked if there might be any footage that we would be able to use, and they said yes. So we didn't initiate it. This all came from the community partner and was a wonderful way for us to be able to hear from the students themselves. So I'll share the students' voices with you, but I will quickly switch to a different screen. So please bear with me. So I'll start this. There are closed captions as well. I hope you'll all be able to hear.
I'm Christian Butt. I'm a 4th year voice major at Mon Music, and I'm doing music education in the fall.
I'm Justin Mann. I'm a social work student, a 2nd degree social work student. I'm finishing up my last practicum in a few weeks, actually.
My name is Sarah Dormady. I am a last semester BBA student, and I'm looking forward to graduating in a few weeks as well.
Well, I started out actually in September as a volunteer with the Inclusion Choir, and that, I guess, got my foot in the door. It was a really enjoyable experience, and then I found out about this interdisciplinary practicum opportunity and jumped on it.
I've always had a musical background, and I'm studying business in school, so it seemed to be the perfect combination of social enterprise and getting back to my musical roots.
I always loved working with community through music and to be able to affect people in a positive way. I've always had an interest in, I guess, the social enterprise part of this corporation, I guess, and to be able to intertwine the music with the social enterprise is pretty amazing, and it helps people so much. So to be able to do that in the future in some capacity will be a real big dream for me.
Well, I think as a social work student, it's been a really unique experience because social work, the tendency, I guess, is for social work to be sometimes really clinical and on a one-to-one basis. But the choir has taught me that social work doesn't need to look like that at all, and that you can do social work in the context of a choir, a group of people, and group work.
For me, business is just such a broad field. You know, every single business organization, whether it be non-for-profit or a large corporation or a local community center, there's always some sort of business presence. And for me to be able to bring back my passion for music, and I've always been involved with community projects, it's something that moving forward after I graduate, I will look to pursue further, incorporating, you know, like my academic studies and trying to help make a difference in different aspects, trying to be that kind of background personnel, helping different community groups move forward.
The opportunity to collaborate with the individual sitting next to me has been a very special experience because we all bring these unique skill sets, and as one person, I don't think I would ever be able to take on all of that responsibility. But it's good because like the energy, we're using our energy in a way that's positive, and it's really bringing about change in people's lives. It's special to us.
It's a different kind of energy. In a regular choir rehearsal that I've always been a part of, it's exhilarating, I guess. It's nothing like you've ever felt before. It's just a completely unique experience.
It's about bringing people together and creating friendships, creating bonds, creating attachments, connections, community.
And you can really tell, like when you go to the practices, that everyone wants to be there, everyone's excited to be there, and everyone really does contribute as much as they can. And it's really beautiful to see, when you're watching them sing, everyone is really giving their all, and you can tell by the energy they're giving and the looks on their faces.
Through the inclusion choir, the objective isn't to be the best, it's just to enjoy yourself, and that is the objective, the joy in the singing, which is pretty incredible.
Singing for the inclusion choir it's a tool, right? It's a tool to enact change.
Okay. Oops. So that really was my last slide. I thought you might like to know a little bit about where they are now after this experience. Sydney has gone on to be hired by the community organization. Our business student, Shauna, is still working with Smart Ice. She's not yet a graduate, but is still continuing with them. Where our social work student, Todd, went on to do his field education practicum in Labrador again. Where for the last placement, our business student went on to do a second degree, but Christian, who was in music, went on to join a community organization and help them start a social enterprise. Justin, the social work student, was hired by that partner. He's then moved on, but he continues to sing with the choir more than 2 years later. So we've been really thrilled through what we've seen so far with our students. We have, if I'm remembering correctly, about 6 to 8 different interdisciplinary placements that we've had thus far, and the students have remained in contact. Some are staying on as volunteers. They've all come back to us with testimonials that have just really gone above and beyond what we'd hoped we could achieve. So thank you for listening, and I'd love to have your feedback and see if any of you are also doing anything similar, and see if you have any questions. I'd be happy to open the floor. So I'm just going to stop sharing to see how many participants are there. It might be nice to just be able to interact with one another since we're such a small group. I know, Emily, maybe we could allow people to unmute themselves and just jump in. I see someone is surrounded by plants, and that's wonderful. Hello, Heather. Greetings.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I have a bit of chaos happening in the house around me, so I decided that it would be better if my front garden was actually behind me. So, well, this is a wonderful initiative at Memorial. I'm from Laurier, so Ontario, the middle part of Canada. And we have what you're talking about is, it sounds like there's so much similarities between what we do as well, but our programs are all curricular. So and we have a social entrepreneurship option, which is embedded in the Faculty of Arts as opposed to in a business school. And then we have a community engagement option, which is this very connected program that was actually co-created by a nonprofit in our community with us. And when I was listening to you talking, I thought, wow, there are so many similarities about just in terms of the approach you're taking in working with community partners and in the experiences and the testimonials of your student. And I love coming to Ashoka for that reason, because you hear all of these different ways that students are engaged in either social entrepreneurship or embedding in community that have similar outcomes and such different such different programming, structures, which I think is fascinating. Anyway, my question actually was around, so your co-curricular, what's the hour, like what does the week look like for those students? Because I'm assuming this is not something they take a term off and do.
That's right.
Right, this is something they're doing alongside. And the reason I'm asking is we have our community engagement option requires students to do 6 hours a week with a community placement in an immersive, or a community partner in an immersive placement. And we sometimes get a bit of pushback around that's a lot of time. How do we commit to that? By the end of it, they've all figured it out. But in the beginning, there's this sort of hesitancy. And I'm just wondering, what's the structure of your program look like for a student?
Right. We have gone in with the idea of let's be as flexible as possible and as accommodating as possible. And we've also learned from our community partners who they themselves are so used to making accommodations. We have a maximum number of hours at our university that students can be placed. So it's 19 hours maximum. We have gone down as low as 8. And that was an exceptional circumstance. But generally, it can be 12 to 19 hours a week for the students. And we've also been flexible with the number of weeks. We realized, of course, that while the university runs on a semester system, that doesn't necessarily always fit with our community partners. So we've slid a little bit, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the end. We have given extensions as well, but we've always discussed it with the community partners. Looking for the reasoning for the extension. Usually it's either been we just need a couple of more weeks to tie the loose ends up and complete the work, or could we have an entire new semester because the students have done so great, we would like to take them into the next level of this and they would have that experience as well. So our community partners have really come along and been fantastic as well. I'll just add that with one of our multidisciplinary placements, we actually had a point where I thought, oh no, this is it, it's finished. We have to pull the plug on everything. And I almost wanted to smile now because given the COVID-19 crisis that we're in, it takes things up to a whole other level with us. We are now moving all of our placements online, but we essentially moved a particular placement remotely. To accommodate some issues that a student was going through, and it came through beautifully at the end, but we could not have done that if we didn't have the partners that we have. Thanks for your question, Heather. Any other comments or questions? I think we just have about 3 minutes left.
Nicole, I'm Amy, zooming in from Chicago. I am a consultant for a nonprofit Boston-based organization College for Social Innovation. So they offer this 15-week fully accredited semester in the city program for a cohort of 50 undergrads representing 13 different public and private institutions. So really appreciate just like the experiential learning piece of it and trying to make a connection to students from different academic disciplines. I was curious to hear, based on the students coming from the School of Music and social work and business, like, is that part of your model to build these teams of students from all different disciplines to then, again, figure out a way to work together so those skills and assets could be shared in order to advance the mission of the organization that they're matched with?
Yes, Amy, that's exactly right. Usually it comes from the conversation with the community partner. Sometimes it's with us during that discussion saying, well, have you considered da. So for Smart Ice, have you considered a social worker on your team? And that cracked open a whole new path of discussion. Where one thing that we've noticed that has helped these placements is when the students are also joined by a common interest. So all three of the students who were placed with the inclusion choir, for example, all had some connection to music. It was the business student, I had no idea until the day of the concert, played the flute. I knew there was, I had heard from a community partner that there was something, but we had a man who was very well known in our community as someone who has spent a considerable part of his adult life living rough. And he sang a solo, very moving, and our students stood up and played the flute. And I can tell you the tissue boxes were out for that moment. But the fact that all of the students had some connection, they had some they brought some of their own personal motivation, really helped make things work. And again, they took on working together as a team, as a challenge. And so far they have all risen to that challenge. I should mention as well that as well as trying to place students together, we also place students individually. So sometimes it happens that we have an extension and we have another one starting. So we look to see how can we seize that opportunity as well and have those students interact, even if it's their weekly team meetings. How are they going to be? What kind of a role could they share and bring to the table, so to speak?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And Nicole, I was curious, just because these students are coming from different disciplines, have you had your evaluation instruments be reflective of how they are using that particular skill that they're learning from their academic department in order to successfully execute on the project that's been determined?
We haven't done that so far. We had been looking at a more general evaluation. I've started working with colleagues who are developers in our Center for Innovation and Teaching and Learning. And so we're trying to work on that now. And I think part of my motivation behind that is also to look at how can we, because one of the reasons we ended up working this way was realizing that going down the curricular pathway, so many barriers, Mount Everest came up in front of us. I'd been involved with not a school in the city type of or city studio type of arrangement, but something that was fairly similar. It would have an entire cohort over a semester, full-time, working with community partners. And I wouldn't say that's dead on the shelf, but it's very, very difficult. So I'm hoping that we are the proof of concept that can help other initiatives get off the ground. And we do have some connections with our co-op education offices, and those students are followed up by their co-op coordinators. So they are capturing from their disciplinary perspective, not through us, but through our other partners, other units at the university.
Great, thank you.
That's a great question.
On that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole.
It's a pleasure. So I think, Emily, we're coming to the end of our time, it looks like.
Gosh, not even enough time. 30 minutes.
30 minutes is not enough time. I have 5 other questions.
Feel free. So I think there's enough time if folks have. I have enough time for one more question, then I do need to hop to another call. But Heather, if you do want to ask one more question.
Just a really quick question, and I apologize if I missed this earlier. So are you within a, like, where is this program embedded? Are you within like a service learning department or an engaged learning department, or what's the?
So we're technically at our Faculty of Business Administration, but we are a collaboration of business, social work, and music at the university. So I have 3 deans.
Wow. I wonder, Nicole, I might invite you and anyone who else is comfortable, considering that there are a number of other questions, to share your email in the chat box. So if you all want to continue conversation offline or even sometime during the exchange, like you might at a normal conference have another meeting, please feel free to do so, knowing that 30 minutes is just a chance to scratch the surface.
Okay, I've just shared my email. I believe the slides are also available. It's called through Event Mobi, I think it's called.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay. So our website details are also given there. I'll give them in the chat as well. There's actually not very much information about this program on our website because we're doing a complete revamp of the website and a complete rebranding. So stay tuned.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks so much, Nicole. And thank you, Emily, for organizing this.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you at some other sessions.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Bye-bye.